Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us today. I'm Taylor Combeluzier, a mining analyst at Red Cloud Securities. Today's webinar features Westhaven Gold Corp. Westhaven is a gold-focused exploration company advancing the high-grade discovery on the Shovel Nose project in Canada's newest gold district, the Spence's Bridge Gold Belt. Westhaven controls 37,000 hectares with 100% owned gold properties spread along that underexplored belt. It is currently focused on its Shovel Nose property, where a 40,000 meter drill program is currently ongoing and results were most recently released this morning. The Shovel Nose property is situated off a major highway near power, rail, large producing mines, and within commuting distance from the city of Merritt, so that results in low-cost exploration. Today, I have with me on the webinar Gareth Thomas, President, CEO, and Director at Westhaven. We'll also have Sean Pollard, who's the CFO and Director, and Sean Thompson, VP Corporate Development and Investor Relations, available during the Q&A session if necessary. The format of the webinar for today will be comprised of two parts. In the first part, Gareth will provide an introduction to Westhaven and give us a look at work completed to date at the project and what investors have to look forward to through the remainder of 2021. In the second part of the webinar, we'll take your questions live. So please submit them via the chat at any time and we'll get to as many as we can. To start, we'll handle the disclosures and then get into the presentation. So for Westhaven, there may be some forward-looking statements made on this call. I would direct listeners to the cautionary note on page 2 of the Westhaven corporate presentation located on the company's website. For Red Cloud Securities Inc., I would highlight that this webinar is for information purposes only and should not be considered a solicitation to purchase or sell securities or a recommendation to buy or sell securities. And we note that this call does not take into account the particular situation or needs of individual investors. Participants should rely on their own investigations and seek their own professional advice before investment. Please see our most recent research located on our website for Westhaven specific disclosures. So now I'll turn it over to Gareth to introduce you to Westhaven and what investors have to look forward to with this company.
Thank you very much, Taylor, and thank you to Red Cloud for hosting this. And thank you for all in attendance. We appreciate your interest. As Taylor mentioned, my name is Gareth Thomas. I'm the President, CEO, and co-founder of Westhaven Gold Corp. I'm excited to tell you what we've been up to over the past few months and really the past few years here. It's quite a simple story, really. It's high-grade gold off a major highway in British Columbia. This first slide, you're having your first look at the Shovel Nose gold property. Really gentle rolling hills, nice topography, a very good place to work. As Taylor mentioned, I will be making some forward-looking statements, so please keep that in mind for the duration of the presentation. Start off on this slide. As mentioned, high-grade gold off a major highway in British Columbia. That picture you're looking at there is the Coquihalla Highway. This is a main artery out of the lower mainland from Vancouver up until the interior of BC. And on the right of the picture there, off the other side of the Coquihalla to the east, that's actually our Shovel Nose project that starts there and spans for 17,000 hectares off to the east. You'll see some of our high-grade intercepts starting back in 2018, 17.77 meters of 24.5 grams per ton gold. And following those up throughout the past few years, 2019 had our biggest gram meter intercept there, almost 13 meters of almost 40 grams per ton gold. Right up until today when we announced 76 meters of almost 3 grams in our south zone. And I also should mention of note there, in a new zone, new discovery at the FMN, we announced 4 meters of 5 grams, and that's approximately 3 kilometers away from the south zone, which I'll be showing you on a map here shortly. Work on a maiden resource has begun on the south zone, and we're expecting that out in about Q4 of this year. As Taylor mentioned, large land package, 37,000 hectares, 100% owned over 4 projects. We'll be touching mainly on the Shovel Nose, our flagship today. Look at our management and board, just being cognizant of time. I won't go through everybody here, but it's important to note Peter Fischel, our exploration manager. Peter spent approximately 13 years over in Russia working on the Kupol low sulfidation epithermal project. Similar, well, I like to think it has similarities to our Shovel Nose project, same low sulfidation epithermal. Peter spent the early days from discovery with BEMA through to B2, right up to working with Kinross there in full production. And Peter's been instrumental. He joined our team in late 2016, and he's been instrumental getting us to where we are today. Board and advisors, many from experience from grassroots exploration, right, to putting things in production. So we have a very good team that's seen a lot of the, I won't put a number on the years experience, but it's well over 100 years experience here on our board and advisory team. Just looking at our share structure here, the big thing that pops out, we own 25% of the shares. So we're very aligned with shareholders and potential investors. We've recently announced the addition of Merck, Franklin, and Gold 2000 as institutional investors. We've had Plethora Precious Metal on board for about 4 years now, another great shareholder to have. And you'll see the remainder of the retail investors and friends and family. Today, we're a little over 126 million shares outstanding, a little under 150 million fully diluted. You'll see our cash, that's about actually working capital. And with about 10 million in working cap, we get being where we are in BC, we get an additional 30% back on every hard dollar we put in the ground. That's the exploration tax credit. And plus we get an additional 10% being that we're in the pine beetle kill area of the province. So a nice little return with, say we put 10 million into the ground, we generally get about 3 million of that back the following year on every hard dollar spent. You'll notice there the analyst coverage. We just recently got Craig Stanley from Raymond James. You'll see the performance outperform price target of $1.10 a share. And we're also listed, our warrants are listed under the symbol WHN.WT. You'll be hearing a lot about this from me today is the advantage, the unique advantage is our location. You've heard me, you saw the pictures of the highway there. You'll see Vancouver where our office is, and then up to Merritt where I am right now. I think I can circle that for some of you that aren't familiar with the area there. So that's where I am in Merritt. And you'll see our 4 projects outlined in black there, with starting with the Shovel Nose down to the southeast. And as you head up to the northwest, we have the Prospect Valley, Skunka Creek, and Skunka North. And the remainder in the darker beige, that's the Spence's Bridge Gold Belt that Taylor touched on earlier. That's a 110-kilometer long volcanic belt. And we have we have a 2.5% NSR on 70,000 hectares from a group called Talisker, which is very active on the belt as well. So a nice little strategic alliance with them. And you'll notice as well here, so I just make a mark there, Highland Valley Copper, largest open pit mine in Canada. You get New Afton up to the north there, and you get Copper Mountain down to the south here, all in production. And very good area to be in terms of jurisdiction. And as mentioned, a 2.5-hour drive from Vancouver, and you're on the drill site, and 30 minutes for where I am here today in Merritt. So very, very, a tremendous advantage for just location wise. Here's a zoom in of our Shovel Nose flagship property where you saw some of those outstanding results there earlier. I've touched on the majority of this, but you'll see a major power line up to the north there. We have power on the property actually, and heavily logged. There's 450 kilometers of roads on this project. We rarely are building a road ourselves or taking down many trees. It's another thing that's often overlooked or underestimated is the fact that we're in a very heavily logged area, which is good for permitting. It's good for many things, and of course that equates to low cost drilling. As you see there, we're at about $190 a meter all in costs, and then you'll see our peers in Canada. And of course, we don't need helicopter, we don't need a plane, we don't need a camp. So it equates to low cost exploration. And I'll just highlight here as I go to the next slide. I'll just so you guys can see this. This is our main vein zone, which I'm going to be talking about here, and on the next slide, just so you can see when I zoom into this next slide. There you have. So the red there outlined is our vein zone 1. We've now traced that for up to 4 kilometers since 2018. And we're drilling currently on the FMN there. That's the results I mentioned there at the bottom of the right hand of the screen there. We drilled 16 meters of 10 grams there. We announced that about a month ago as well. In the Franz there, you'll see we discovered that late last year, or in September of last year. We drilled 8 meters of 15 grams there. Now, to put it in perspective, that's 4 kilometers away from the south zone where we're doing our maiden resource. And our goal here is to find more south zones. And judging from what we see along this structure alone, we feel there's going to be many more of these on the periphery. And that's what we're trying to do here, which I'll touch on in the next few slides on targets that we're targeting, not just the south zone, which we'll see what the resource comes, but we think there's going to be many of these south zones on the property. Some of the key highlights there off to our intercepts, I should say, 19 meters of 12 grams in vein zone 2. Some very good intercepts there, and we're continuing to hit every year. We're finding more and more, and that's the exciting part of the story here. Here's a cross-check section for some more of the technical folks here. This is a look at our south zone, sort of the heart of the south zone, if you will. You'll see 1815 in there, where we drilled 46 meters of 9 grams. And that's a good look at your textbook sort of epithermal. You get about 220 meters of preferred elevation there, where we're focusing. That's where a lot of our resource will be as well. You get a real sweet spot there. And when we're just outline that there. And as we're looking for these, as I mentioned there, the FMN and the Franz, sometimes it takes a bit of drilling to really come through the sweet spot, if you will, to figure out where you are in the preferred metal horizon. So sometimes these things can be tricky, and luckily we have, like I mentioned, Peter Fischel and a very good technical team working on these things, because we're starting to find more and more of them. Here's a look at the south zone where our maiden resource will be done by Q4. These are intervals with over 100 gram meter intercepts. So 10 meters of 10 grams, 100 meters. Those very, very well distributed gold intercepts along here. And you'll see our most recent one we announced today, as mentioned, 76 meters of almost 3 grams per ton and 11 grams per ton silver there. And we keep hitting more and more of these, which is obviously a very good sign. It's a well endowed gold silver system here. Here's a look at the FMN and Franz. As mentioned, this is a long section here. This outcrop we discovered, as mentioned there, in last September by a prospector, found this just prospecting on surface there. We followed that up with almost 8 meters of almost 15 grams per ton. But what we're focusing on mainly right now is this the FMN over off to the southeast there is what we're really focusing on right now is FMN. As mentioned, the 16 meters of 10 grams there we announced last month, and we followed that up with 22 meters of 2 grams just recently, but we're still not in the preferred elevation there. We hit that intercept at about 1,300 meters. We really need to get down to around 1230 meters. So we're following that up as we speak. We're very excited what could be here. This is how the south zone started. You're picking away at, you're getting the vein attitudes of the vein, figuring out what's going on, and it's a matter of time before you're sitting on something pretty exciting. So that's what we're focusing on here at the FMN. Well, we have a drill in the south zone doing some resource stuff, and we got another drilling this target here, which I'll show you on a plan map here shortly as well. But this CSAMT, this is a resistivity surveying tool that we did a whole bunch of last year. And you'll see in the middle there, the south zone outlined in red. You'll see those really light blue or almost white. That's a good sign of what you want to see is silicification or quartz. And so we have hundreds of these targets on the property, and we're narrowing them down as we speak. And we're drilling the one off to the right there, the CSAMT's target 3, as we speak right now. I'll show you that on a plan map. But we're using this in an area where there's not a ton of rock in places. Sometimes we need to see what's underneath, and not saying all of these are going to turn into south zones, but when you add a lot of these ingredients together, sometimes that's what we're hoping for, is we're going to find more of these through that technique as well. You'll see, as mentioned, a lot there in the south zone where a resource will be coming out. Then you got the FMN gap where we're drilling as we speak, and the Franz as well. So 3 very high priority targets. Then we're also getting a drill out to the Romeo, as you see off to the right of your screen. That's about 4 kilometers to the east northeast. That's a 1.5 kilometer long hydrothermal breccia that also coincides with a very nice looking mag low. And we also did some DC resistivity work there late last year that shows a real prominent resistivity anomaly there as well. So 3 really good things, plus you're getting some really good soils. So Romeo becomes a very good target for us out here to the east. So we'll be getting a drill on there very shortly. Then off to the west of your screen here, the Curtin and Brookmere. The Brookmere is actually one of the older showings on the project, and we'll be looking to follow up there. We had a prospector, a very well-known prospector, do some very good work on the Curtin there last year, and we've since been back and looked at it, and there's some very promising looking targets out there as well. And not to mention we got people full-time working on the bigger picture here on this project. We've done a lot of good work up to the north, up down to the south, down the southeast. So we're constantly delineating targets. There's just a look at our news release map from today. And then what I wanted to show you here is that CSAMT target. So that's about 800 meters away from the south zone here. So just to put it in perspective, that's another 800-meter jump over there where we're targeting the CSAMT target. So we'll see what comes from that and see what we can learn from it. And hopefully it's another south zone. Time will tell. Not to be outdone here. I've been talking a lot about the shovel nose, which is our flagship. We're spending most of our time and effort and resources on shovel nose. But Skunk Creek, this was the first ever drilled target on this whole entire belt. To put that in perspective, that's a very young, highly underexplored belt you're talking about here. That was drilled in 2005. The 5th hole of that project intercepted 12.8 meters at 20.2 grams per ton gold. So a very nice world-class intercept. We were able to acquire this property in 2018. No one had worked there since 2007. There was a lot of interest in it back in the day. And we're not entirely sure by the past groups let it go, but we got the feeling that maybe some didn't believe that this belt had the potential to host these high grade gold systems. And I think we've proven that at Shovel Nose alone, that they certainly exist. But we'll be back at Skunk Creek at some point. Unfortunately, and very, very sad, devastating news out of Lytton there with the fire. So we won't be there in the immediate future, but something we have in the back pocket there. So then we got our Skunk North up there, never been drill tested, but the highest stream sediment samples on the whole entire belt. And Prospect Valley, you see in the middle there, 10,000 hectare project with lots of prospectivity as well. Just some very nice looking textures here, by the way, very textbook. Fluid flow, boiling, really good things you want to see in these epithermal systems. Bit of an arm weaver here, but I think it's quite fitting for where we're on. I mean, we've had this project since 2011. We didn't have our big high grade discovery till 2018. It was tough to raise money in those lean years. We're always working away, always doing little bits at a time. Before this, we broke through and Peter sort of cracked the lock there, if you will. So it was it's been a kind of a longer journey, but when you put it into perspective in holes and meters drilled, it was only about 20,000 meters before we discovered the high grade. And this is the Hishikari mine, which is one of the best high grade mines in the world, up there with the Kupol. This has been around for hundreds of years, been in production since the early 80s. Just to put it in perspective, you see all these vein swarms over there that make up the Hishikari mine vein swarm. Then, of course, on the right, what we did is just superimposed our veins on there. But like I said, a bit of an arm waiver, but this is what we think could be the potential here. Could be multiple vein swarms. We found 4 already in the short time frame. So a lot more work to do here, very underexplored, and we're actively working as we speak. Results are out constantly, and we're looking forward to a resource here shortly. And here's some of the upcoming catalysts. 40,000 meters, we're in the midst of that. We're over half that drilled this year. As you see there, the CSAMT, DC resistivity, we're starting to test some of those targets. And of course, we're drilling up in the FMN and France. That's happening now. And we'll have metallurgy results coming out with our maiden resource at the end of this year. But really still very much an exploration story here. We are doing the resource, but our main goal here is to find more of these south zones and prove that this is a multi-million ounce project. And that's what we're most excited about is finding more and more gold. And yeah, I think we're well on our way here. With that note, I think we'll get into some questions there. Taylor, thank you very much, everyone, for your time. And we will have Sean Pollard and Sean Thompson joining us too, if there's any questions. And thank you very much for your time.
Great. Thanks a lot, Gareth. That was a great presentation. So now we'll turn to the Q&A portion of the webinar. And just a reminder to everybody on the line that you can type in your questions to the chat box at any time. So to kick off, our first question is Westhaven has made a point of being close to a major power line or source of energy. Have you considered changing to electric drilling rigs? It says they're now used in a number of countries and have many advantages. Very interesting. That's the first, to be honest, that's the first I've heard of that. And of course, very good question, because obviously the world is going in that direction. Yeah, something I will certainly be looking up here in due time to see what that's. Yeah, I never really thought about just the amount of power the drills use and stuff. Yeah, that's an interesting point, though. We will certainly look into it. I'd be curious to know what countries. I like I said, first time I've heard of it, but good question. Great. Okay. Next question we have. Just kind of wondering, I guess broadly, do you have any kind of interpretation on the market, the precious metals market right now, kind of with respect to today's results or going forward? Yeah, I'll start on that. Then I might get Sean, who followed the market very closely, and I certainly will start by saying I'm certainly a gold and precious metal prospector, and feel I do a pretty good job at that. But I'm certainly no expert in the prediction of metals or the price. But I do feel with release today, we mentioned in our stock, we feel we're a bit confused and frustrated with what's going on there. We're putting out some really good results here, and we see this as a very cheap opportunity. I'll probably stop there before I get, but it could be frustrating. And even with gold up today, we put out good results, and at last check, our stock's down. It's we're hearing it from shareholders. We seem to be doing the right things, but it doesn't always gel with the market. So we're certainly trying to remedy that. Sean, I don't know if you guys want to take a stab at that.
Yeah, I can jump in here. It's every mining executive and CEO will tell you that gold's going higher. It's not our jobs, to forecast the price of that commodity or the metal. We can only control what we can control, and right now we're controlling how we spend shareholders' money, and that's through drilling and discovery, adding more gold, finding more gold. And as large shareholders ourselves, we have 25% ownership. We're doing everything in our power to do just that, which is discovery, finding more gold, proving up, the fact that this could be a 5-10 million ounce belt. hopefully, the majority of that will be on shovel news. Time will tell. And like I said, lots more drilling, lots more news releases, lots more results coming. And that's all it takes. It could just be one drill hole in a new area, and the market realizes, wow, this does have multi-million ounce potential, and value should be unlocked through that.
And I'll just jump in here and make a quick comment. At $1,800 gold, producing mining companies are making a killing. And obviously it's a depleting resource, and they're going to need to make acquisitions. And there's been very few new, potentially multi-million ounce high-grade gold and silver discoveries made in the last couple of years. Even fewer are located off major highways, 30 minutes from a city in a tier 1 jurisdiction. I mean, we've got 10 million working cap, 3 drills turning, frequent news releases, drill results on the horizon here. And so at some point in time, these cashed up mining companies are going to come looking, and they're not going to get us cheap because, again, as management, as the largest shareholding block, we recognize the value here. We're not selling it for anything close to where we're trading right now. It's a fantastic opportunity to pick up Westhaven at this price. We just raised $15 million, bought deal by Raymond James. These are professional investors. They were paying 70 cents. And this is before we were able to say we've got this new high-grade discovery at the FMN. This is before all of this recent drilling at the South Zone as well. That's growing the size of the gold mineralization envelope, which should contribute to a large resource at the end of the year. So
great. Okay. So there is a follow-up to the electric drill rig. Apparently they are used in Germany, according to one of the viewers there. So can look into that.
Good job.
The next question, just kind of following up, I guess, on what Sean mentioned there about the drilling releases. What cadence do you expect kind of for news flow through the remainder of the year?
We've been consistent with about 1 per month, and I think that's reasonable, just given the turnaround times with regards to labs. I mean, we benefit because of our location and that we can drill year-round. What that means is, for most of British Columbia, you get shut down during the winter. So most companies can only work from, say, July to September. We're coming into a slow period from a lab perspective because all those companies are rushing assays now. But again, once we move towards winter, we're still drilling. Assay times, drill releases very well could pick up. Right now, they tend to slow down, but 1 per month at least should be a good guide.
Great. Okay. Next question. We have one person wondering, in a recent Sprott report concerning Talisker Resources, they referred to Westhaven as their strategic partner. Do you have any comments on that?
Yeah, so we in 2018, I didn't touch on that very much there, just cognizant of time there. So in 2018, we had a confidential agreement signed with what was then Sable Resources. They since became Talisker, but they had guys from that team that had been coming up to the property actually in 2015. They saw some of our, lower grade, 50 meters of half-gram material, but they said, keep up the good work. You're onto something here. Sure enough, in 2018, we started drilling multi-meter scale veins, and one Ruben Padilla was actually up here in the courtyard, and he said, okay, you're onto something here. We had a 10-kilometer area of interest in that confidential agreement, and then Sable said, well, we want to get involved on this belt. We felt we have our 4 projects. We had our hands full. We didn't want to stake anymore. We'd been on this belt as a sole player for quite some time. So we said, these guys have a lot of experience, some involved in the discovery of Fruta del Norte, Ruben Chris Lauder, Robert Shaw, some very, very Terry Harbert, some very smart guys. So we, to allow them to stake what happened there, to get rid of that 10-kilometer area of interest, we got a 2.5% NSR on anything that Talisker Sable should discover within 5 kilometers of our 4 projects. So that equates to a 2.5% NSR on 70,000 hectares. And yes, we do work. It's not so much a partnership, but we do work closely with Talisker. We like to see what they're up to, and vice versa. And it's in the best interest of the belt to have success here. So we're certainly working, I wouldn't say side by side, but we're working together to really put eyes on this belt and find new things. I think it's great for the communities and great for the area and great for shareholders.
And just to touch upon the Belt and Taliskers, more recently, New Gold, which is a mid-cap mining company, has come into the Belt in a big way. First, they announced an ore purchase agreement for a company called Gold Mountain. Gold Mountain is about 10 kilometers to the east of us. And then more recently, they announced a $20 million financing in Talisker. And New Gold is publicly stating that they're looking for a feed for their new Afton mine located in Kamloops. So it's always good to see big companies coming into our area. And this goes back to, again, there's going to be a lot of activity on this belt. Westhaven, Gold Mountain, New Gold, and Talisker, and so on.
Great. Okay. The next question, just wondering, I guess, on the drill program, how many meters, if any, are planned at the Romeo target?
Yeah, so we have, Peter's highlighted 12 targets there. So last year we actually went and drilled a hole there, but very near the end of the year. There's this, as mentioned, a hydrothermal breccia that kind of lines up on the same azimuth as the south zone. It's the same sort of north, west, southeast trend there. So some really nice soil numbers there as well. But we hadn't had our DC resistivity data back yet. So where we drilled, we had some of the highest pathfinders we've seen on the project. And you're seeing the upper levels of which is your textbook low sulfidation epithermal system. So we're very keen to get back there now that we have a bit more data to go back to. But yeah, we last drilled there last December was our last drill hole before we ended for Christmas season. So we have 12 sort of high priority targets there. And we'll see. We'll play it by ear, but yeah, you could see up to 12 holes there. Hopefully, that would be a good sign.
Great. Okay. Turning now just to more kind of corporate strategy, I guess. What is management's strategy with your key assets? So I guess the Shovel Nose property. Do you plan on building a mine, finding a JV partner, align with strategic? And I know it is kind of early days, and it's always kind of hard to answer this, but. Maybe just outline a little bit.
Yeah, you know what? We've done a fair amount of, to be very frank, we've done a lot of flip-flopping on the board and, different scenarios in the market, what's going on with the market. I guess that dictates a lot of what's going on, market activity. As Sean mentioned there, the strategic investment by New Gold into Talisker. But as of now, we're keeping all 4 of our projects. We feel that's in the best interest of shareholders. In case there's a chance that a bigger company would be interested, we want to keep that as a whole. We have interest on the other projects. They're great projects, but we want to keep them all together as of now. In terms of the Shovel Nose itself, to once again be very honest, I certainly wouldn't be there if we're going into development production, but that doesn't mean we can't get a team involved in Westhaven itself. And I think that's the way you always want to go towards, especially, this is looking like a really nice little, I shouldn't say little, it's looking like a nice resource that we're growing there. So there's going to be some eyes and ears on it. But for now, I think we just keep plugging away and hopefully we can get to that multi-million ounce sort of goal there that will get even more eyes on us. So that's kind of it in a nutshell.
Mm-hmm. It's important, as Gareth touched upon here, is we're explorationists. I mean, we do have a board that's discovered billions of dollars of market value and put those assets into production. That's not what we want to do ourselves. We want to carry the ball as far downfield as possible, extract as much value, and then divest of the asset into a mining company. Now, we've spent the better part, since we started drilling 400 or 500 gram meter intercepts, we've toured dozens of mining companies, many of which have been to the site now 3 or 4 times. And, we have this conversation regularly with them. They know that we're for sale for the right price. Is that right price here? Absolutely not. They're going to have to pay a lot more for it. And so the asset's for sale, the company's for sale, but you're certainly not getting it for this. And because, again, we're the largest shareholder group, they're going to pay what we want them to pay. So,
Great.
Well, you have to ask yourselves as well, what do we need from these larger groups? Do we need capital? No, we're able to raise money at pretty good prices in the capital markets. Do we need technical expertise? Not yet. We have a very good team with Peter Fischel. He won an award, Discovery of the Year, for this project. He worked for Kinross at Kupol for a decade plus. And so we really have to step back and ask, what do we need from them? The answer is nothing at this point. We just need to go drill and find more gold. Even in a flat gold price environment, the value will be unlocked with the drill bit. It's simple as that. And we're sitting at over $2,000 Canadian gold price today. So it's, regardless of what happens to gold, the drill bit's what's going to be adding value here.
Mm-hmm. Great. Okay. Next question we have in is, does the Lytton fire and implications for explorers in that area move Prospect Valley up the priority list, and what are our plans there for this year?
Excellent question. I see that from James there. Hey, James. Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's absolutely devastating what happened in Lytton. That, I think took everyone by surprise, obviously, with the heat wave and a fire burning near there. But what happened there so quickly? So obviously our hearts and condolences out to the community of Lytton. We work closely there when we're working on Skunka. We stay in Lytton. 90% almost all gone. So we're certainly not thinking so much about the Skunka or that area for now, obviously, until we get a better assessment of that. We have our hands full on Shovel Nose. But James, to answer your question about Prospect Valley, we do have some work set out to do there. There's many groups interested in it, but as mentioned, we've decided for now we're going to keep that in our portfolio. I think it's in the best interest, as mentioned, but we do have some work planned on PV. We did some ground magnetics there last year and found some very interesting looking things on the Bonanza zone, which we haven't done a whole lot of work on. Getting some discovered by Ed Ballon, one of the first discoveries on the belt, actually. So yes, we do have some follow-up work to do there. Likely not drilling though at this point. I think we got all hands on deck and resources on Shovel Nose.
It's important to note as well is that we've been in this belt since 2011 by ourselves, and it wasn't up until the very high grade gold discovery in 2018 that anybody paid attention to. And then Talisker came in, undertook the largest staking exercise in British Columbia history. They staked 189,000 hectares overnight. They basically took up the entire belt that we didn't already control. But what that meant was from 2011, 2018, we had the pick of the litter. And with Ed Ballon, again, who we touched upon earlier, discovering the belt, nobody knew the belt better than him. We leveraged his expertise to put together a project portfolio consisting of the best 4 properties on the belt. That's why we allowed Talisker to stake the rest, basically. Any of these properties we staked because they could be equal to or better than the Shovel Nose. And up until the high-grade gold discovery on the Shovel Nose, the Skunka had the best drill intercepts on the belt, including 20 grams over nearly 13 meters. So again, we're going to look to work all these properties at some point. It's just a question of when.
Great. Okay. And just a clarification on one of the things, it is the Spence's Bridge gold belt for one of our viewers who just wanted a clarification on that. Next question, just wondering, are you listed on the OTC? What is the symbol for that, I guess?
Sean Thompson? Oh.
Hello. Yeah, sorry, we're listing on the OTCB, the ticker's WTHVF.
Okay, perfect.
And we've also got 10 million warrants listed on the venture WHNWT as well.
Okay, perfect. Okay, and then just wondering, I guess, on the funding, obviously did that big financing. What does that give you runway for, I guess? Does that get you, how far will that get you?
That will put us into start of next year for sure. We're obviously with the resource taking up, some of that money there. We luckily didn't have to drill as much as we were sort of giving us that leeway there. So it's on the less, which is certainly better. But we'll be good into Q1, Q2 of next year at the burn rate we currently have going. I don't know if our CFO wants to speak of that more than myself, but
yeah, no, sure. What I'll say is with 10 million working cap and an average drill cost per meter of $200, we've got about 50,000 meters of drilling we could do. Now, we've already accomplished 21,000 of the 40,000 targeted, so we've got enough runway for the foreseeable future to deliver the resource, to continue to test these exploration targets and carry through to Q1, possibly Q2 next year before having to top up.
Perfect.
Now we're hoping to do it at a much higher price, as any CEO will tell you, but that is the truth.
Great. Okay, so it looks like we are starting to get out of questions here. So maybe just to wrap up, it'd be a good way to just summarize and give investors kind of the last pitch, or 3 reasons or so that they should buy your stock.
I think I'll just jump in here, and I think people need to, investors need to ask themselves a question, and we've asked ourselves as a management team this question. If you think the geologic engine that created the South Zone discovery, all those high-grade hits that Gareth had talked about, the 18 meters of 24 grams, 13 meters of 40, and all the recent high-grade we've pulled up with a resource coming out at the end of the year, if you think that Mother Nature and that geologic engine has only sprouted up that vein swarm that we have currently, and that's it, fair dues. If you think that Mother Nature below our property has probably sprouted up a few more of those, maybe several more, like other well-known low sulfidation epithermals, Kupal, Hishikari, then buying our shares at 58, 60 cents today with a 70 to 80 million market cap is very good risk reward. It's very good value as we have more results and more drilling to come, and hopefully more discovery. So it's a very good time to get invested at these price levels, taking advantage of this gold correction we've had recently. I was watching BNN last night. One of the market participants was saying it was the largest gold correction we've had in about 4 years. So mining equities have been hit because of that, and that presents opportunity. So we believe there's a lot more to be found, and getting in at these prices, having ownership of this property and this belt at 60 cents or thereabouts is good value.
That's well said. I just we'll have, like I said, consistent news flow, lots of news coming out, lots of drilling, and resource Q4. And as Sean mentioned there, this is hopefully the bottom here, and it's going to be a lot of up from here. So yeah, thank you very much to everyone that participated. We really appreciate that.
Great. So with that, I would like to thank Gareth, Sean, and Sean from Westhaven for taking the time to host the webinar today with Red Cloud Securities. And thank you to everybody on the line for tuning in with us.